And then last but not least, we have got to find a way to pay the better teachers more. The gems of our education system are the great teachers. There are probably some teachers in the audience. What you do is remarkable. And you see it in big classes, small classes, great facilities, not such great facilities. If you've got a great teacher in the classroom, the kids do really well. So let's find a way to pay those teachers more. And you might say, well, how in the world are we going to do that with the budget deficit? We have to reallocate the spending that the state makes on education from administration and overhead to in-classroom. It's hard to know exactly how much we spend in classroom versus overhead because the information technology system that powers the state is not what it should be. But it's about 50%. So think about that. If you ran a business where 50% of your costs went to overhead, you would be out of business. So let's allocate it to where the kids learn. In classroom is where the English as a second language learners are, where the disabled learners are, where the gifted students are. So let's move that from 50-50 to 60-40, pay the better teachers more, and give them the resources they need to perform in the classroom. So, if you only remember one thing from tonight, it's jobs, spending, and education. It's not that other things aren't important, they are. But if we don't fix these three things, I'm not sure it matters what else we do. And I believe that if you go to Sacramento with too broad an agenda, you'll be stymied at every turn. By the legislature, by the incumbent interest, by the bureaucracy. So let's put everything we have against fixing these three priorities. And let's restore confidence in California. You know, as I have traveled around this state, we suffer from a crisis of confidence. Every day I get asked, can this be fixed? Can we really return California to its proper position? Can we really be a place where the jobs are plentiful, where the roads are new, where we've invested in the infrastructure, where we have a great kindergarten through 12th grade education system? And the answer is yes, but I'm a deep believer. You've got to set it up and knock it down. You've got to mean what you say, you've got to say what you mean, and you actually have to deliver the results. So thank you. So what I'd like to do now is answer questions on any subject. Don't be shy. And then we'll go around. Right there in the middle with the blue shirt.
In California, it takes a two-thirds majority to pass virtually anything. How do you plan on overcoming that?
So, as you know, today it takes a two-thirds majority of the legislature to pass a tax increase and to pass the budget. And I am not in favor of doing away with that two-thirds majority. And here's the reason why. It is between us and massive tax increases. The Republican legislators are doing a remarkable job of holding the line. So the question then becomes, well, how do you get anything done? And here's the way I think we ought to approach this. The governor of California really has four levers that you can pull to get things done. The first is you've got to focus, and we've talked about that. The second is the appointments process. This is an underappreciated lever that the governor has. The governor of California makes 3,000 appointments to his or her administration. For perspective, the President of the United States gets 3,800. So my question was, do we need 3,000? But think about it, the top 10%, the top 300 are incredibly important. You know, I did not run eBay by myself. I will not govern California by myself. You are only as good as the people who work for you. So, you got to find the very best 300 people who are on the same agenda as the government. I will interview every one of these 300 people, and I will look at them and say, are you on the same page as I am? Because this is what we all have got to get on the same bus, and we've got to drive to the right location. So, the other thing I would say is of those 300 people, I think a third need to come from the private sector. Because I don't think the civil service can reinvent itself without a healthy dose of outside in. And the place I'd start would be information technology, something I know very well. One of the keys to being able to do more with less is to deploy technology. To use technology to do more with less, to find fraud. Much of our systems in California are not automated. So for example, many people say that the administration of Medicare and Medi-Cal in California, there's between $4.8 and $5.2 billion worth of fraud annually. But we can't find it because the systems are not automated. If we were able to save that, we'd only get $2.5 billion. The federal government would get $2.5 billion, but I'd take $2.5 billion. So that's the kind of thing that we've got to do. So first is focus. Second is appointments process. Third is the governor has to work with the legislature, but the legislature has to work with the governor because the governor in California has line item veto. So the way you let the legislature know what you will and will not put up with is consistency around veto. And you've got to, what the other observation I would make here is the legislature has in many ways become a bill factory. Last year, 692 pieces of legislation were signed into existence. Not much of that was on point to the crisis that we face. So let's stop doing the new things, and let's focus on fixing what we have ahead of us. So can't we bring, thank you for that, can't we bring the legislature together? Who wants to be on the jobs team? Who wants to be on the spending team? Who wants to be on the education team? And I have talked to Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and there's not a single one who doesn't think jobs is the major issue. So, Democrats and Republicans may disagree, but let's all focus on solving the problems for the people of California. Then I would say the next issue is, this is one tough job. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is hard, I think this is a 12, being governor of California. And if you have a huge need to be liked, and you have a huge need to be popular, this is a very bad job pursuit fit. Because think about it, in a crisis, half the people will be upset with you all the time. And while you're taking on the education establishment, the spending establishment, 75% of the people will be upset with you. So the next governor of California has to know exactly what she believes, and she needs to stick with it. Because you're going to get a lot of pushback and a lot of feedback that isn't going to make you feel great. So you have to have a core set of beliefs. You have to know why you were sent to Sacramento, and you have to power through. So that's how you get things done. It's a different approach, but I think we can work together. You know, I'll make one last observation. The next governor of California has to move to Sacramento. You've got to build relationships with these legislators. You've got to know every assembly person by name, every state senator by name, what their re-election issues are, what their families are like, what they care about, and you've got to build trust. In my 30 years in business, it's all about relationships. It's all about relationships, it's all about trust. And I think we can work together more productively than we have. I'm not naive about it, but I think through relationship building and building teams in California, you know, in the end, it's all about leadership, isn't it? Great leaders create a vision of what's possible, and they inspire people to make change happen for the good of a larger group. So, thanks for that question. Do you want to go up in the back? I surprised you, didn't I?
I was wondering if you consider the initiative process here in California a big part of the spending problem, and what can we do about that?
So the initiative process has been part of the California Constitution for many years, and I think it has done some very good things. It brought us Prop 13, for one, and I think we have to defend Prop 13 at all costs. It's the one competitive factor that we have left for businesses and families in California. You know, when you talk to businesses who are thinking of leaving or staying, the one good thing on the side of the ledger is we have reasonable property taxes. So let's not give up that competitive disadvantage. That said, I think we can make some reforms to the initiative process. Today, what we do is we ask the citizens of California to make very big decisions through this initiative process. But we don't actually give them the data that they need to make that decision. For example, the high-speed rail project. What was put before the voters was, would you like high-speed rail? Yeah, I love high-speed rail. What we did not say is that that would cost each and every family, on average, $800 in California. So we don't give people the trade-off that they need to make. And so I think we should keep the initiative process, but I think we need to give the voters more information about what decisions they are really making. And so that's what I'd say. I think it has some real benefits, but let's modernize it in a way that will allow it to work. And you're right, there's been a lot of spending that has been propositioned, if you will, into the state budget that frankly the governor can't get their hands on. So I think it's a double-edged sword in many ways, but I think we can make it better and make it work for the citizens.